A very warm welcome back to the channel. It's time for your aviation news recap. Yes, that means taking a look at multiple topics all condensed into the one video so you don't miss a single thing. And we're traveling all around the world today, but beginning off with Air Canada. And Jetz, with a Z. This is part of the Air Canada group and is home to premier charter aviation services. They look to offer a superior business class to satisfy their customers' needs. However, its fleet is set to receive a substantial upgrade with a new look for Air Canada jets. The same maple leaf found on mainline and regional aircraft will be present through a livery change. However, the entire body is no longer white. It will now be painted in black. As a brand, Air Canada wanted to ensure that its Jetz division was instantly recognisable. They believe they can achieve this by painting the aircraft in one colour, predominantly that is black. Jetz will also upgrade its cabin to ensure that the fleet's passengers have the best possible experience. Air Canada, though, is not the first company to paint an aircraft in all black, say for charter purposes. It is a very popular colour choice and significantly does differentiate the brands of Air Canada, so that you have to commend them for. Air Canada Jetz has a fleet of one Airbus A320 and three A319s, with quotes available if such a plane is required for services. However, more generally, Jetz has been responsible for carrying many famous musicians and groups, and also sporting teams such as the Montreal Canadiens, Toronto Maple Leafs, and other NHL teams within Canada. Sticking though with liveries as our core focus thus far, but moving to the other side of the world, it's time to head to Air New Zealand. After many years, they've said goodbye to their former teal livery, with the last aircraft being repainted. Since its conception, Air New Zealand has substantially changed its livery through the years. However, you could say that the teal scheme was the most recent iteration before the company updated its branding to reflect a more streamlined and modern era, which is a livery that is greatly loved around the world. Since the announcement that livery would be slowly integrated into existing and new coming aircraft, Air New Zealand has been repainting its jets into this black and white livery, and while, like I mentioned, some do like it, there are equally some that are disappointed by the change in liveries. That is always going to happen. Some say that the teal was lovely, but the black is a boring scheme, and shows a complete lack of imagination. What are your thoughts on the new livery compared to the teal scheme? ZKNEO, or NEO, was the last aircraft to wear the teal livery before being repainted. ZKNEO is not an A320neo, or even A321neo, but it's a Dash 8-300 that operates on Air New Zealand's more regional network, and was first delivered to the airline in 2006. Ultimately, the process has been a prolonged one, given when you factor in the global pandemic and Air New Zealand grounding most of their fleet, as well as other associated costs with repainting them more promptly. The airline does need to time the repainting with potentially maintenance, or just a reason to have them in the same spot for an extended period of time. Moving along to, again, the other side of the world, and we're back with Emirates, who have announced plans to increase their commitment to Hong Kong with a third daily flight. The capacity boost will see 21 weekly flights, including 2 direct daily services and 7 weekly flights via Bangkok. It's all part of the overall commitment by Emirates to restoring services to Hong Kong following the global pandemic. As I'm sure you're aware, this was a region of the world that was hit undoubtedly the hardest, given everything that's taken place there. Emirates notes that 21 weekly flights will be hugely beneficial to meet demand being seen, and also subsequently offer customers far more flexibility, choice, and further connectivity onto the Emirates network. Operating as EK382 and EK383, the Dubai departing flight will leave at 3:15 in the morning before settling into Hong Kong at 2:30 p.m. It'll spend just under 4 hours in Hong Kong before departing for Dubai at 6 p.m. and arriving at 11:05 p.m. Now, sticking to the idea of changing liveries, rebranding an airline, and so much more, there is something really noteworthy that I want to cover. We're saying farewell to Northern Pacific Airways, and not in the way you're thinking, as in they've collapsed. No, they've been fully rebranded. Enter New Pacific Airlines, a bold and decisive rebranding as described by their CEO Rob McKinney. He says the word new speaks volumes to the modern-day navigators driven by purpose and aspiration. However, the rebrand to New Pacific Airlines is hardly a personal choice by the company that only launched services to Las Vegas a handful of months ago, due to an ongoing battle with BNSF Railway Company, which in 2022 filed a lawsuit against the startup airline over their name. BNSF claimed that Northern Pacific was already a brand name they owned and had a lot of history that dated back to the 1800s. This even despite the naming not technically existing in the current BNSF network. BNSF, though, have always been very protective over their former branding, and that is something seen right across the rail network, and thus it was never going to be an easy case for Northern Pacific to battle as a carrier. And while they did fight as much as they could, changing names was, as per their CEO and likely all executives, the best strategic move for the business. New Pacific Airlines as a rebranding has many skeptical, feeling that it's lost the appeal that Northern Pacific had, with of course the main point of flying north of the Pacific Ocean. Ultimately something the airline has yet to achieve following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Ultimately, the rebranding is another hurdle that the airline is being forced to overcome. While highlighted to be a positive, substantial costs will be incurred once more for an airline that, when you think about it, only offers regular routes between Ontario and Las Vegas, and seems to be having a bit of an identity crisis that is ongoing. Time will tell whether they'll be able to turn it all around and really fulfill their initial purpose, but most would argue it's not looking great. Our final topic of the day sits with German carrier Condor, that's announced plans to expand its North American network with new flights targeted for the summer of 2024. The airline says it will resume flights between Frankfurt and, drumroll, Calgary. This will be an important future part of its network. However, Frankfurt will also see further expansion on top of Calgary. Condor will launch a brand new service from Frankfurt towards Miami International Airport. The Miami and Calgary flights will launch on the 27th of May in time for the summer season, when demand is set to surge. Miami flights will operate 3 times weekly, with Calgary operating twice weekly. Condor will be utilising its A330neo, which plays an integral part in its current fleet, and a type that is no doubt going to power its operations long into the future, allowing for new and also existing routes to resume. Condor will ultimately face competition, as touted by analysts. However, the company is ready and prepared to tackle the North American market with 2 more routes and frequency increases. Those frequency increases sit with North American cities such as Halifax within Canada and Boston within the United States. If you have any thoughts on today's aviation news recap, let me know down below in the comments, and stay tuned because this is very much going to become a regular occurrence. Thanks a lot for your support, and I'll see you next time.